Cayman Islands.
In answer to his question about the subjects,
there are more questions than answers.
Radio Cayman, talk today.
Oh, what a compliment. For that, I thank you.
What is happening now? There are hopeless and
Now it's time for us to stand up for God or we fall to nothing.
It's time now for Radio Cayman's Talk Today. If you're ready to talk, we're willing to listen.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today.
Listening to the general public, what the public is saying.
Good afternoon and welcome to Radio Cayman's Talk Today program. I'm Kathy Miller, filling in for Sterling Dwayne Ebanks this afternoon. It's going to be my last day hosting the show during Sterling's vacation time, so it's been a pleasure being with you all today or throughout last week as well. And today on the show from 12:15 to 1, I'll be welcoming from the CFA Society Cayman Islands, Georgie Loxton and Nancy Wright to discuss the 9th Annual CFA Investment Forum. And then from 1 p.m. onwards, we're going to be discussing cancer care and the family with Doctors Hospital. So right now, we're going to throw it back for a quick disclaimer, and then we will be back to talk today to discuss the 9th Annual CFA Investment Forum. Talk Today is brought to you by Subway, open 24 hours in Countryside, Anderson Square in Georgetown, and Centennial Towers in West Bay. And by the Ministry of District Administration, explore your history, explore your land, explore your sister islands. And Cayman Airways, call them on 949-2311 to book your nonstop flights to Los Angeles and Panama. And now, Barbados. And Digicel, Cayman's bigger, better network.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today, the Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program. We ask our listeners to avoid statements or comments which are abusive, derogatory, malicious, or defamatory. Do not use any indecent language or make any statement which is false or misleading. Email talktoday@candw.ky or call 1-800-534-8255.
Courtesy of Live Communication.
Let your voice be heard.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today.
Good afternoon and welcome to Talk Today. I'm Kathy Miller, filling in for Sterling Dwayne Ebanks this afternoon. On this segment of Talk Today until 1 p.m., we're welcoming from the CFA Society Cayman Islands, Georgie Loxton and Nancy Wright. We're discussing the 9th Annual CFA Investment Forum. Good afternoon, ladies, and welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
Well, good. Thank you for having us. We're excited.
That's no problem. Georgie, how are you?
I'm great.
You're no stranger to us.
So happy to be here.
Yes. Sometimes you'd be hosting Money Stunts with us on Thursday mornings,
That's
correct?
Right,
yes. So it's good to have you back here with the show. If you could give our listeners a brief introduction of who you are, your professional background, and your involvement with the forum this year.
All right, I'll take that. So I am a recovering investment manager, if that's a thing. It was a big segment of my life, but I got my CFA charter. I don't know. It was an embarrassing number of years ago, but I've been.
Oh, you're not going to tell us, Nancy.
Oh no, it was back when it was easy.
Oh, that's not so easy. Now.
That was never the case. He's lying about that.
So yeah, always have had an interest and a passion in finance, and getting the charter really solidified that. And moving to Cayman, I've been here for 15 very glorious years. Got involved with the CFA Society locally, I think about 7 years ago or so, initially volunteering. I'm now on the board, but mainly they just let me play with this investment forum. So this is my main occupation at the moment. And excited to give you more details on that, but that's me.
Okay, that's you. And Georgie, if you could let our listeners know who you are.
Hi, everybody. I'm Georgie. I haven't recovered from the investment management. I'm still an investment manager, which I love with a passion, and a financial planner here on Island. And I have my own company by the name of Liberty Wealth. And I earned my charter actually straight out of university, which I will say was about 20 years ago.
Okay.
And I did that in London and then moved to Cayman very shortly after that, actually.
Okay.
So I've been here 17 years now.
Oh, wow. I'm just beating you by 1 year.
Yeah. I just got my status, so
congratulations.
And I got involved with the CFA Society as soon as I arrived on Island, actually. I was on the board for a couple of years back then, and then stood back when I had kids and life got super hectic, and now kind of involved as a sponsor for this event because it is such a great event. And there aren't really many other events in Cayman that are solely focused on the investment world. So I think this one is a real highlight of the year.
That's true. And finance is one of our twin pillars, right, of our economy. And understanding investments, which I still have a lot of trouble with, believe it or not. It's such an important thing. And I think the average everyday person doesn't know a whole lot. So I feel that, we have our finance professionals, and then you have your average everyday person that's not involved in that industry, right? And so I believe that having this show, being able to, for us to have Talk Today on the road during the investment forum, to be able to kind of bring the insights and break it down as to what's going on, what the financial industry is about, what the investment industry is really important, because it helps just connect that industry and its importance to Cayman and why people should invest, including me.
Yeah, it's so important. And I always say, people always say they should know about it, but no one's ever taught about it. So how would anyone know about investing? You think you're set out into the world from school with knowledge of, the Greeks and trigonometry, but nothing about how to make your money work for you over your lifetime and how important that is. And so, there's no shoulds, as in everyone should know it. I think people should accept that they're not taught it. And unless you're really lucky and you have a parent or something who teaches you about it, most people never really figure it out.
Yeah, exactly. So that's why it's important to have these kind of conversations. So I'm glad you ladies are here. So this is the 9th annual CFA Investment Forum. Can you give us a summary of what this year's investment forum is about and why it's important to host such a conference in Cayman?
Sure. There is a lot of mystique around investments, and I think people get a bit paralyzed by the technical aspects of it. Like, how do you calculate a PE ratio? What does it mean? There are a lot of technical aspects. We're kind of taking a bit of a different angle, because overarching all investments are themes. What is happening globally? How does it affect investments? What are the specifics around it? So this year it's a very interesting theme. It's got a catchy title. We're calling it the Constant Conundrum of Change. And we have 4 very diverse speakers taking very almost diametrically opposed angles on the theme of change. We came out of the pandemic, and we should actually be on our 10th annual investment forum, but we had that little hiatus of misery.
Yes.
But we're back with a vengeance, but change just seems ever present and prevalent in everything that we're doing, and linked to change is uncertainty. So how does that affect how you invest? How does it affect how you plan, how you strategize? So should I go through the speakers and kind of on a broad basis, or should I wait for that?
Yeah, you can do that. You can start telling us about the speakers.
Okay, so 4 different angles coming at change. We have an economist, we have a global strategist, we have a behavioral expert, and we have a robotics expert taking the angle of AI. I don't think we're ever going to have a conference for as long as we live that doesn't have an element of AI.
That's true.
So amazing speakers. Alison Schrager, she is an author, and she wrote a book called An Economist Walked into a Brothel.
Yes. I saw that on her
site.
Too. Yes.
I know. If anything's going to make you pick up a book in an airport, it would be that. But it's actually talking about the unexpected places that you find risk and how do you deal with it.
Say no more.
Risk in a brothel. I'll just leave that there. We have Professor Mirko Kovac, and he's our robotics guy. There are such complicated words in his bio that I'm not even going to make an attempt at it. But he does flying robots, and we're really hoping for a practical display, but we might just get videos, but I'm not sure. But he's also going to be speaking about the developments in technology and how change is affecting how we do things. Then we have Rob Murray, and he actually has a doctorate in transformational leadership. He wrote a book called The Human Operating System, and he really likes to climb into people's brains, understand what does change mean to you? Does it cripple you? What is your response? How do you process it? Why? How should you process it? So I think that's going to be very interesting. And then Victor Schwetz is a global strategist. He works for Macquarie. He wrote a book called Glory. I want to say it's a Rapture. Something to do with the rapture, which I can't find it in my notes now. But it's called The Great Rapture, 3 Empires, 4 Turning Points in the Future of Humanity, which seems a bit gargantuan as a theme to take on, but he's up to it, and that rounds out our 4 speakers.
I feel like there's more than 4 turning points in the history of humankind.
Give us till Tuesday. I don't know.
I will find out Thursday for sure at the conference, right? Okay, that's some pretty good speakers. And I remember last year there was also the theme was centered on AI and how it's revolutionizing the world and whatnot, right? And there's There's a whole other conference happening as well this week, nothing to do with finance, but that's a SIMPA conference, and that's also focused on AI and marketing. So we cannot escape it, as you said. It's definitely there. We're going to learn a lot more about it. We're going to continuously learn about AI. And I'm particularly excited about, I think it's Professor Kovac, the robotics professor, who's going to be speaking at this conference too. So it would be very cool if he had some flying robots or whatever else that he was showing. But I understand if, it's probably a lot to bring in for a conference as well. We'll see. You never know. But it would be, I think you got some great speakers this year. So I think people will definitely learn a lot. And the transformational leadership speaker, I can't remember his name. I know he's in your notes there too.
Dr. Robert Murray.
Yes. Quite looking forward to that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's also something, I know we have a lot of people from government that listen to our show as well. And they're always, government has a big focus on leadership and transformational leadership. So I think from people from government departments would also find this conference very useful to them. Whether or not they're in that finance world, I think they would learn a lot from the speakers that you have coming. So
well, that's quite a useful segue that I'll just pick up and take. A big focus beyond just the finance community is also the community of Cayman.
Yes.
And for the last couple of years, we've had a strong focus on having satellite events. We bring these phenomenal speakers to the island. They have an amazing experience, great hotels and everything. But if we bring them all this distance for an afternoon, it would be a waste of an amazing resource. So on that, Rob Murray is actually going to be presenting to Cayman Leadership. So we've done a joint venture with them. So we're doing a 90-minute workshop with their alumni as an opportunity for some really in-depth work and direct work and a chance to give back to the community on looking at our future leaders of Cayman. So we're really excited about that. So that is the one satellite event.
When you say Cayman Leadership, is that with the Chamber of Commerce,
Correct.
the Leadership Cayman class that they have?
Yep.
Oh, very cool. They're in for a treat.
They are. So that's going to be great. That's going to be on Friday afternoon. And then we've got Mirko, our robotics guy, presenting to the robotics students from the DART program.
Nice.
So I think we've got 30 students signed up. And, when do you get an opportunity to meet with professors like this of this caliber? Neil came last year, Neil Bangerter, and it was just so well received. We're really just trying to capitalize on the fact that we've got some great speakers coming. They're going to be really interesting, and we can go beyond just an afternoon of a forum and really reach into the community a bit more.
I think that's a great thing because it just shows the bridge between the CFA Society, the conference that you're putting on, but also the relationships with the different sectors of the community. So I think that's a great thing. We've got to go to our first commercial break, and when we return, we will continue discussing the 9th Annual CFA Investment Forum.
Your dream car with a Cayman National Vehicle Loan. Enjoy 100% financing, up to 8-year repayment, and a 7% fixed interest rate for the first 5 years. For eco-friendly cars, we'll waive your commitment fee. This only applies to new vehicles until December 31st, 2023. Call 949-8300 or email lending@caymannational.com today.
They say variety is the spice of life. And that's why at Subway, we're introducing the new Boneless Hot Sub. Say what? The premium sub brings new ingredients like spicy breaded boneless chicken, French's crispy fried onions, and buffalo wing sauce, bringing a zesty and flavorful experience with every bite. Add some of your favorite veggies, cheese, and ranch sauce of your choice of freshly baked bread for the ultimate boneless hot sub. For a little spice in your life, try the new Boneless Hot Sub from Subway.
So good and tasty.
And make it a meal with a drink and chips or cookies. Subway. Eat fresh.
Upgrade your connection with Digicel's all-new postpaid plans. Experience the freedom of endless local calls, more any use data to browse, entertainment data for Netflix, Spotify, YouTube, and TikTok, and endless social data for WhatsApp, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. That's not all. Stay connected when you travel with roaming data for the USA, Canada, and the Caribbean, and make calls while abroad with more international minutes than ever before. Stay connected on the fastest, most reliable network. Make the switch today. Digicel, better connected.
CUC Advisory.
Customers are advised of a scheduled outage on Wednesday, November 1st between 9 a.m. and 2 p.m. for Raven Avenue off Rex Crichton Boulevard in Prospect and all side roads including Litigate Court, Flintstone Drive, Bedrock Circle, and Rockshire Drive. For more information, please contact COC's customer service team at 949-5200 or email service@coc.ky.
From a haunted house to haunted caves, Crystal Caves brings the Scream this Halloween, Tuesday, October 31st from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. Fun for all the kids with costume contests, tricks and treats to nibbles and eats. Admission only $10. Book at 925-3001 or 949-2283 or book online at CaymanCrystalCaves.com. Take a tour of the haunted Crystal Caves, Tuesday, October 31st from 6:30 p.m. to 9 p.m.
Now, more than ever, supporting your immune system is crucial to helping your body fight off illnesses like the common cold, the flu, and COVID-19. At ValueMed Pharmacy on Walkers Road and in Buttontown, we carry all the essential vitamins and minerals to help support your immune system and improve your overall health. Some of our top immunity support picks are vitamin C, vitamin D, zinc, elderberry, and quercetin, or the popular 7-in-1 immunity support. Our pharmacists are always on hand to help guide you and answer any questions. Visit ValueMed Pharmacy on Walkers Road or Buttontown. Live happy, live healthy with ValueMed Pharmacy.
Listen to the general public.
Your thoughts are just a telephone call away. 1-800-534-8255.
What the public is saying.
Let your voice be heard. And now,
Radio Man's Talk Today.
Welcome back to Radio Cayman's Talk Today program. I'm Kathy Miller, filling in for Sterling Dwayne Ebanks. There I am, talking a little slower now. I think I was really fast in the beginning, and I have to forget. Sometimes I forget who I'm talking to. So we are welcoming in this segment of Talk Today Georgie Loxton and Nancy Wright, and we are discussing the 9th Annual CFA Investment Forum. We were talking about the theme, which is the conundrum of constant change. I think I have that alliteration right. I think so. And as a theme there, so I want to talk about change. So we're discussing change, and in discussing that, we kind of need to look at change from both a macro and micro level. And on the macro level, could you share what some of the changes are happening that affects everybody globally?
Gosh, I mean, it's a huge, huge topic, change. I mean,
it's macro.
If there's something that we can be certain about, it's change. Yes. I mean, it's the only constant in the world, really. It's a constantly changing world, which is really the title. And with that, it is a conundrum. Post-COVID, the world is, very, very different. And I think a lot of the implications of that time are yet to be felt in the world. I think we will look back on the last few years and it won't become clear probably for maybe a decade or more, the changes that have come out of COVID and everything that the world went through during that time. But on top of that, obviously, we've got huge geopolitical issues going on in the world right now. And we've had these in the past. This is nothing new. It's horrific and devastating what's going on around the world. And then we've got the AI topic, which is also absolutely enormous because it could completely change the way the world operates and how people use technology. So there are three really big things. And I think, again, on top of all that, there's the climate change, which is another huge force of change that, I certainly think we're not taking very seriously on this little island, but around the world, people aren't really taking it seriously. And we don't really know what that's going to do to the world over the next few decades. But I think the way I think about change is that there's kind of two types of change in the world. There's the sudden calamitous sort of change, which happens when something strikes us that we're not expecting, and that would be COVID.
Right.
At the beginning of 2020, nobody, except for a few experts that had been sounding the alarm for a long time and no one was listening to them, but nobody was talking about a global pandemic.
Correct.
And you can go back through history and look at all of these huge events, and they all came out of left field. Nobody knew that they were coming. So there are those completely out of the blue things that impact us as individuals, us as investors, and the world. And we can't predict those things. By definition, we cannot predict them. And so the investment implications of those are it's impossible because we don't know that they're coming.
Right.
But then there's this kind of slow, gradual force of change, which is a little bit more predictable, but we really underestimate it. And that would be things like technology. You know, you think the power of the iPhone today, and you think back 50 years ago, and if you had told somebody 50 years ago that they would hold in their hand more computing power than all of the IBM mainframe computers that were in existence on the planet 50 years ago, that we would individually have more power than that in our pockets, nobody would have believed it. Nobody would have believed it. And that kind of changes human innovation, right? It's that the world is actually, despite everything we read and everything we feel, getting better for most people most of the time. But that is a really underestimated force because it's slow in its nature. We feel these big kind of calamitous things much more because they happen suddenly.
Yes.
So there's that kind of continual innovation, which I think is, you know, AI obviously feeds into that, although that feels like it's happened quite suddenly. And that could change things quickly going into the future. I mean, who knows what we'll be sitting here with in our hands in 10 years' time. I mean, we just have absolutely no clue. We may all have chips embedded under our skin that do everything for us. I mean, we can't even begin to predict. And so there's that other force of change. And from an investment point of view, that's somewhat easier to deal with because there's only one place in the world that human innovation shows up, and that is in the companies that innovate. So if you think about Apple, for example, who make the iPhone, you know, that company didn't exist 50 years ago. In fact, 9 out of the 10 biggest companies in the US did not exist 50 years ago. They weren't there. There's only one company that is in the top 10 today that existed 50 years ago, and that, you might be able to guess, is Warren Buffett's Berkshire Hathaway. It's the only company. So in the last...
No, I would not have guessed that.
You would have guessed that?
Yeah.
All the others, Facebook, which is now Meta, you know, Google, Apple, all of these companies didn't exist 50 years ago. And so human innovation is such that it shows up in these businesses, because the businesses are the companies, are the things that innovate in the world. And so as investors, we can take advantage of that by owning shares of these businesses,
right?
Which is what you do as a shareholder, right? You own equity in businesses. And this is something so important that we always try and explain to people, because when it comes to investing and change, I think people forget what it is that they own, and they think that in their portfolio they have a bunch of casino chips. But they don't. In their portfolio, they own bits of businesses. And if the world continues to change and companies continue to innovate, which has been the case for the last 100 years, we're going to assume that that innovation will continue, that Apple is going to come up with some other amazing product. And if Apple doesn't, somebody else will.
Yes.
And that will become the biggest company on the planet. And you want to own a bit of that. And that's the way that investing works. So there's this kind of change that comes at you very suddenly, which is impossible to predict. And then there's that slow human innovation, which we have to just sort of be rational and assume that that's going to continue into the future, because it's always been the case in the past.
I like how you painted that picture for us, Georgie. It makes a lot of sense. And now I'm thinking, okay, that there's definitely those companies that you mentioned that, yes, they are innovative, and that's what we kind of have to look at in our investing and in our future. Because as you said, we can't stop the sudden changes that happen. And when they do happen, like the pandemic, we just all had to change and get used to it. Mm-hmm. We all had to accept what was going on, and we had to change a lot of our lifestyles, the way we were doing things. And then that brought up, I'm going to say, investing, especially in healthcare and innovations in healthcare. Like, to me, that's been a big theme for at least, for me, 10 years, maybe even longer.
But that's
for
really
yourself.
interesting you bring that up, because if you knew in 2020, at the beginning of 2020, that there was going to be a global pandemic, and you knew that there was a company that was going to come out with the vaccine, and that company was going to sell this vaccine to millions of people around the planet, and that company was Pfizer. You probably would have thought Pfizer would be a really good investment.
Yeah, I would assume that, absolutely.
Right, at the beginning of 2020, you might have bought Pfizer.
Yeah.
But actually, Pfizer has been a lousy investment, and it's actually underperformed the S&P 500 over that period. And so taking the knowledge of what's going to happen next, even if you could have that knowledge, and we don't have that knowledge, but if we did, it's still really hard to translate that into investment advice, i.e. these are the companies that you need to own based on what you know what is going to happen. And that's what makes investing so hard, is that even with perfect knowledge, you can't possibly know how the market's going to react. And you certainly can have no idea how individual companies are going to react, because it's so much more complicated than just saying, oh, there's a global pandemic, there's going to be a vaccine, they're going to sell lots of it, therefore that company's going to do well. It just doesn't work quite like that.
I'm surprised. I was just going to ask, how was Pfizer a lousy investment?
Well, because so much more comes into how a company does. It's a company's performance is very much driven by expectations rather than actually what happens. It's what the market expects it to do. And so you can have very, very high expectations baked into a share price. And if the company doesn't meet or beat those expectations, the share price will do badly. And that's all comes back to something Nancy mentioned earlier, which is something called a P ratio, which is kind of how cheap or expensive a company is when you buy it.
Okay.
Because the most important thing when you buy a company is, are you buying it when it's super expensive, or are you buying it when it's quite cheap? And obviously, if we buy things when they're cheaper, that's better than buying things when they're more expensive. And generally, the companies that are really expensive have very high expectations about their future growth baked into them. And if that future growth, Tesla would be a good example of this, right? If that future growth doesn't pan out the way investors thought it did, then that share price can perform really, really badly, despite the fact that that knowledge that you had might have been correct.
Oh, that makes
so
sense.
Investing's a tricky thing.
Well, there's always the very warm blanket that we all cling to, which is diversification.
It's the only free lunch.
It is, right? So, like, you know, there's a chance that you might get your investment right, and there is an equal possibly chance that you might get it wrong. But if you do it across 30 companies, you know,
or 500,
or 500,
right? But S&P 500,
correct?
You know,
so then you're making a bet on the economy in general. Then you're making a bet on humanity, right?
On the innovation,
and on a long-term basis, it's never actually failed.
Right.
So it doesn't have to be as high. I really need to understand which company specifically.
You actually really don't need to understand each company specifically. In fact, very few people should be buying individual companies. What they should be doing is diversifying across all of the companies really on the planet, because you don't even just want to have the ones in the US, because you don't want to make a bet on one country. It has never really paid to bet against the US, but we don't know that that's going to be the case going forward. So you want to own companies all across the planet, and luckily there are really easy ways of doing that today, which are through things called index funds or ETFs, where you just buy one thing and it gives you exposure to all of those businesses, and you don't have to make any predictions about the future or what companies are going to do well. You just have to have the faith, like this unwavering faith that those businesses as a whole will continue doing what businesses have always done, which is, as we know, as any business owner knows, it is year on year trying to do better, trying to increase your profits, right? And what businesses do is when they're not doing well during a pandemic or during recession, they will close their factories that aren't making money. If there's a country in which they're operating that has a political risk, they will close the factory and they'll move it somewhere else. They will close down stores if the store's not making money, and they'll open it up somewhere else. They will be chasing the profits, and they will do whatever they can to make sure that they don't go for any extended period where they lose money. Because if a CEO of a listed business continues to lose money year on year, if he or she continues to take shareholder capital and put it out into the world and get less back than he or she put out, that CEO will be replaced by the board of directors by another CEO who's not going to continue to do that.
Right.
So we have to just have faith that that process has always existed, because businesses are actually really rational. Really rational. Governments are not rational. And people confuse those two things, right? They think that businesses are governments, or that the two things are related, and they're completely not related. Businesses are really rational. And what they will do is they will not, for any length of period, lose money. And you have to have that faith that that will continue. And that's why we own bits of those businesses. And that's the way that over time we'll benefit from whatever the change is. And yes, we have to accept that those, one-off, out of the blue, left field events are going to come out at us, but we have no clue what those are. But what we do know is when those companies and those businesses go through those periods, they will become leaner, They will have redundancies if they need to get rid of people, right? That's what businesses do to preserve their profits, to preserve their capital. And when things are better, they will be a stronger business for it. And that's how kind of capitalism functions. And we have to assume that's always going to be the case.
All right, Georgie, that was so well explained. Thank you for answering that question. That was very
well. That was a really long-winded answer.
It was
question,
good.
But you know me, I'll never be quiet.
We've got to go to a next commercial break now on that answer, and then we'll be back again with these ladies to discuss the 9th Annual CFA Investment Forum.
From boat days to beach gatherings, leave the catering to Subway. Choose from small and large sandwich platters, double meat wrap platters, and top it off with optional cookie platters for dessert. Or ask about our Subway box to go with the option of 6-inch or foot-long sandwich, 1 cookie, and 1 bag of chips for all occasions and celebrations. Let Subway focus on the food so you can focus on the fun. Visit subway.ky for catering options. Subway. Eat fresh.
You know, as a little girl, I dreamt of traveling to faraway places and foreign lands. I tell you what though, no more dreaming. I'm going flying with Cayman Airways. How blessed are we in the Cayman Islands to have a very own national airline? Girl, you can fly to so many international destinations without the hassle of connecting flights. On top of Jamaica, Cuba, and Honduras, you got non-stop flights from Cayman to New York, Miami, Tampa, and even Denver, Los Angeles, Panama, and child, they now have Barbados. Going to be a little cafe con leche and Hollywood Squares for this old girl.
Make your travel dreams come true with Cayman Airways, offering non-stop flights for non-stop adventures in Panama, LA, and many more places in between. For details and to book, call 949-2311, contact a travel agent, or visit CaymanAirways.com.
Discover your dream home with Cayman National's home loan. Get up to 95% financing, repayment up to 40 years, and just a 0.5% commitment fee. Your interest rate? Depending on your risk factors, it'll be fixed or variable. Plus, you get a pre-approved credit card. This is a limited time offer. Dial 949-8300 or email lending@caymannational.com today.
Wouldn't it have been grand if you had purchased land 30 years ago? It may not be 2020, but a perfect vision has never been more clear. Cayman Brac and Little Cayman, poised for growth with an eye on the future. Your land, your history, your future. Discover all that our sister islands have to offer.
Can you imagine your home completely organized? At Brand Source Custom Closets, we can. We specialize in designing and building custom closets and storage units for any room in your home, including the garage. With tailored designs and custom LED lighting solutions to fit your lifestyle and budget. Our custom closets expert is committed to enhancing the value of your home with a solution that is uniquely yours. Visit our showroom or call 623-6774 to schedule a no-obligation appointment with our design expert. Brand Source Custom Closets, 209 Dorsey Drive, Industrial Park.
Listen to the general public.
Your thoughts are just a telephone call away. 1-800-534-8255.
What the public is saying.
Let your voice be heard. And now,
Radio Cayman's Talk Today.
Good afternoon. Welcome back to Radio Cayman's Talk Today program, and I'm Kathy Miller, filling in for Sterling Dwayne Ebanks. In studio this afternoon, I have with me Georgie Loxton and Nancy Wright, and we're discussing the 9th Annual CFA Investment Forum. Before the break, we were talking about some major global, macroeconomic changes that are happening out there. And we talked about globally what these big changes are, right? But could you explain how those major changes could affect the Cayman Islands?
Gosh, that's a big question.
It really is. Well, we are this tiny island, isolated in many ways, but not all. So there is going to be all changes that are happening globally are going to affect Cayman, whether it's in optimism for the future. I mean, you've got a war brimming over, they've got casualties. So what does that do for optimism within the market? What does it do if people hunker down and go back to basics? So those would be themes. So war might not be on our doorstep, but we can't get away from it.
Climate change is definitely something.
That is, yeah. Average height of 3 feet above sea level. That's real.
And then you've got inflation, which has resulted in interest rates going up.
Right.
And I mean, I think that for the every person living on this island is a huge, huge thing. It's been so noticeable in the cost of living here. And that coupled with, the rate that people are paying on their mortgages having gone up is, it's really, really hard. And, one thing that we often talk to people about is this concept of being anti-fragile, because we can't predict what's going to happen. But what we can do from a personal level is make sure that when things do happen, we can weather the storm. And the simple things that people can do personally is to always have a cash buffer, always have something to lean on should that left field event hit us. And that might be a massive hurricane. It could be 2 big hurricanes in 1 year. It could be getting sick. It could be a whole bunch of things at the personal level. But having cash in the bank so that you can fund your life for a certain period of time is a huge and important thing for people. Not over leveraging themselves, not taking on too much debt, because then that makes you anti-fragile if something happens in your life and you can no longer service your debt. So there are 2, easy things that people, they're not easy, actually, they're really hard. I don't mean they're easy in the sense that it's easy for people to build up a cash buffer, but simple in its explanation, to really focus on making yourself personally anti-fragile so that when the changes happen, you're going to be okay. I think that's a really important thing for people in Cayman and everywhere.
Okay, thank you. So now, I said if we have enough time, I'm going to ask this next question coming in here before we give any wrap-up details about the conference. But granted, this is an investment forum, and you're both finance professionals. Although you, Nancy, somewhat retired in the investment management part of it, right?
Yeah.
And the theme is we're focusing on change, and we know about all the major world events. We just spoke about some of them. How would the average person approach their investment portfolio? Should they consider making changes in how they invest right now? And if so, are there any risks posed to changing or not changing one's investment portfolio? That was a few questions in one.
It is a few. I think having change is a constant, and we've discussed that. It's not a transitionary thing. We're not going to not have change in 5 years. So this is just ever-present.
And uncertainty.
Uncertainty will remain.
Always there. Because we can never know what's going to happen.
So in terms of investing, you don't want to have a knee-jerk reaction and go, oh my goodness, it's rising interest rate environment. Yes, you can make changes to your portfolio if you really understand what you're doing. How do interest rates affect the composition of your portfolio? But, advisors play a big role in that. Or you just hold the line. I think a big part of investing is discipline, not only in terms of the regularity of investing, but holding when you want to sell everything, or holding when you're scared, right? So what was it that Warren Buffett said? Be fearful when everybody else is confident, be confident when people are fearful. You might want to take a contrarian approach. But I think my biggest investing philosophy is literally just buy and hold.
Yeah, well, Warren Buffett also said he makes more money when snoring than when active, right? And he spent a lot of his career doing very little. And doing nothing is an active choice. It's the hardest thing for people to do because we're primed to do something. And that's why investors make so many behavioural mistakes, because they do all the wrong things at the wrong times for the wrong reasons. But almost always, if you have positioned your portfolio correctly in the first place, the best thing to do is nothing. It really is. If you can not look and pick it up again in 10 years or 20 years, if you followed the rules, i.e. you're diversified, you haven't taken on leverage, you haven't put anything in your portfolio that might blow up, the chances are if you look at it in 10 years, you'll be very pleasantly surprised.
Okay, excellent. Thank you, ladies, for that answer. We only got maybe 2 minutes left in the show, or in this segment of the show, I should say. So we are talking about the 9th Annual CFA Investment Forum.
We are.
I know there's some details we still have to leave for our listeners. Talk Today will be there at the Kimpton this Thursday on the road. We're going to be doing our interviews that we usually do with some of the speakers, some people from the CFA Society. But if there's any other details that you can leave our listeners with in relation to the 9th Annual CFA Investment Forum.
Well, I think the main thing is you're all welcome. It's going to be a really great, interesting afternoon. A lot of diversity, just some fantastic opportunities to network, meet other people, and just get some interesting insights. So if you want to scootle over to www.caymaninvestmentforum.com, there's a register now button. Click on it. I'd love to see you on Thursday.
Excellent. Who are our sponsors that are involved?
We have so many great sponsors this year. It's amazing. And it's a big endeavor, and we have seen so much support on a diversified basis. And, our biggest sponsor at the moment is DART. Thank you, DART. We have RF Bank, SWP, Butterfield Bank is sponsoring our cookie break. Very popular. Yes. We've got Liberty Wealth who's supporting us. You always do. Thank you, Georgie. Radix is sponsoring our name tags this year. Yeah, we've really branched out and tried to get everybody in and helping out. We got Edgewater Development have even sponsored our pins, just giving us an opportunity to bring the best quality speakers and present the best quality conference that we could possibly do on our shores.
Excellent. Georgie, anything you want to say? We have 1 minute before we go to headline news.
Nancy has said everything. I think that's just a message. I don't think anyone will be disappointed if they show up on Thursday. It's going to be a fantastic afternoon.
Lunch and drinks. What more do you need?
And networking after. Yes,
right?
I agree. It's always a great conference. I learn a lot when we go there, and I know that the information that we're able to bring back to our listeners we usually do about 5 to 7 minute interviews with the keynote speakers. And it goes really well. We're always asking what the key points that they're trying to make in their presentations are. So whether you'll get a wealth of information when you are attending that conference, but if you aren't and you just want to hear what some of those key points are, definitely tune in to Talk Today. We will be there on Thursday, November 2nd. Talk Today Live, 12:15 to about 2:30ish. I believe the conference starts at 12:30.
11:30.
Oh, 11:30.
Please, don't be late.
My bad. 11:30. Don't be late.
Yes, for lunch.
You heard her.
Lunch.
First,
no,
right?
there is lunch before.
Yes.
And it's the Kimpton. It's going to be yum.
Oh, yes, definitely. I can tell you I definitely remember the cookie breaks.
Mm-hmm.
I guess because I'm in the hallway mostly, so that's why I take advantage of the cookie breaks. But the past few years have been great. Last year might have been my favorite. We had some great interviews, and I know that this year is going to be just as good, if not better. And thank you, ladies, for joining us on Talk Today this afternoon. And we've got to go to our headline news.
Radio Cayman, the voice, the heart, the soul of the Cayman Islands.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman, your voice, your choice.
Local, regional, international. This is Headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
Today's biggest news.
The headline news is brought to you by Health Services Authority and the Ministry of Tourism and Transport.
Caribbean Utilities' third quarter results for this year show net earnings spiked 34% to just under $14 million when compared to the third quarter of last year. There was also a 10% increase in sales, driven by a 2% increase in customer growth and increases in customer consumption. In international headlines, an earthquake of magnitude 5.4 struck near Hope Bay, Jamaica, that according to the U.S. Geological Survey. With no reports of serious damage, the quake was at a depth of 10 kilometers. Jamaica's Prime Minister Andrew Holness said in a post on social media that he hoped everyone was safe following the earthquake, following reports of intense shaking in parts of the country, but did not point to any immediate signs of major damage. Authorities in Maine in the U.S. spent today continuing to piece together the events that led to the worst mass shooting in that state's history, with the suspect's record of interaction with police and warning signs involving mental illness and violent threats emerging as key threads. Robert Card, the suspected shooter who was found dead Friday of a self-inflicted gunshot wound, underwent a mental health evaluation last summer after he began acting erratically at an Army training facility in New York. A bulletin sent to police shortly after last week's attack said Card had been committed to a mental health facility for 2 weeks after hearing voices and making threats to shoot up a military base. Those are your headlines. I'm April Cummings.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman, your voice, your choice.
Local, regional, international. This is Headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
Today's biggest news.
The headline news is brought to you by Health Services Authority and the Ministry of Tourism and Transport.
The Health Services Authority has over 120 world-class physicians offering the most comprehensive range of specialist services on island. Our dedicated team of professionals provide the highest quality care in orthopedics, interventional radiology, women's health, geriatrics, and a host of other specialist areas. We are a JCI accredited organization with a proven record of excellence. At HSA, we are committed to caring for you. For more information, visit hsa.ky.
I'm Heather Bodden, MP for Savannah and a lifelong advocate for the environment. Illegal dumping is a crime, so please take civic pride in our home and put litter where it belongs. If you see someone littering, report it to the Department of Environmental Health on 949-6696.
Be a part of the solution, not the pollution. Littering is a crime punishable by a $500 fine or 6 months in prison. Brought to you by the Beautification Task Force and Ministry of Tourism and Ports.
Radio Cayman is pleased to feature this special Sister Islands historical vignette brought to you by the Ministry of District Administration and Lands. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your Sister Islands.
George Haig Bodden, MBE, 1930 to 1995.
George Haig Bodden, MBE. Mr. Haig served as an assistant teacher at the Georgetown School and from 1948 to 1954 was in charge of the Breakers School. Between 1959 and 1964, he worked for HM Customs. He was the first Caymanian to become a chartered life underwriter and was a lifetime member of the prestigious $1 Million Round Table. He played a leading role in the Boddentown Presbyterian Church concerts, which were very popular, especially during garden parties. Mr. Haig entered Boddentown politics in 1972 and served as an MLA until his death, except for a short break from 1988 to 1990. He served on EXCO from 1976 to 1984 and was responsible for creating the Maritime Conservation Law of 1978 and for establishing the Water Authority. The cadastral survey was also completed during his tenure. He was named Deputy Speaker of the Legislative Assembly. Most of his adult life was dedicated to the service of his country, for which he was awarded the MBE by Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II in 1995. He was married to Laureline Nee Powell, and the couple had 3 children.
Radio Cayman is pleased to feature this special Sister Islands historical vignette brought to you by the Ministry of District Administration and Lands. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your Sister Islands.
Explore your history. Explore your land. Explore your Sister Islands, the ultimate staycation experience. Your culture, your freedom, the land that time forgot isn't gone. It's your Sister Islands.
Discover all that our Sister Islands have to offer.
Listen to the general public.
Your thoughts are just a telephone call away. 1-800-534-8255.
What the public is saying.
Let your voice be heard. And now,
Radio Cayman's Talk Today.
Good afternoon and welcome back to Radio Cayman's Talk Today program. I'm Kathy Miller, filling in for Sterling Dwayne Ebanks. And on this segment of Talk Today, I'm happy to welcome from Doctors Hospital. I have 4 different doctors with me, and also from Integra Healthcare. So I'm going to start with my first doctor here to my left. If you could introduce who you are and what you specialize in.
Right. Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Dr. Omar Felix. I'm a general surgeon and a breast surgical oncologist. So as a breast surgeon, I also do oncoplastic surgery. I'm from Kingston, Jamaica.
Okay, welcome.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to a sunny day in Cayman. My name is Kunal Goel. I'm a radiologist and also do interventional radiology, which is a new subspecialty we've introduced in the Cayman Islands about 10 months ago. I've moved here full-time from Canada.
Okay, what part of Canada?
Midwest, Saskatchewan, where it's already snowed. So you guys are very lucky.
Okay, I'm from Vancouver. That's why I ask. Okay, all right.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Dr. Francisco Martinez. I am originally from Spain, where I trained in family medicine and emergency medicine, and I practice at Integra Healthcare as a general practitioner.
Good afternoon. I'm Dr. Sanjay Avasti. I was born in India, raised in the United States, and have been here at Doctors Hospital in Cayman for the last 2 years. I'm a medical oncologist.
Okay, welcome to Talk Today. I thought you were going to say a little bit more. You surprised me. Well, good afternoon. Thank you for coming here. We are discussing cancer care and the family, correct? So, in general, I guess if you could, perhaps you, Dr. Felix, if you could let us know the process of a regular GP visit to identifying a problem that somebody might have, to getting screening, biopsy, chemo, and then surgery, chemo, and then surgery. You waved your hand. Were you going to answer that?
No, as a GP point of view, probably it's me.
Okay, all right. You go for it then. No problem.
Yes. As a GP, a family doctor, what we do is two things that people sometimes confuse. One is prevention, and the other one is screening. People sometimes believe that screening is prevention, and it's not. No? Doing a mammogram, that will allow you to find the cancer, not to prevent it. You prevent the cancer to be advanced. Not smoking will prevent you have a lung cancer. Okay, so there are two different things. As a GP, I have to tell my patients what they need to do to prevent cancer, no? And I am very lucky because I have, since Integra is with Doctor Hospital, I have the backup of fantastic specialists, no? We have here 3 of them. So I need to tell the people, don't smoke, eat healthy. No, we know eating healthy is super important, and Dr. Abasti knows a lot about food and cancer. Drink with moderation, try to have an active lifestyle, and I always tell the patients, also cross your fingers, because some cancers, there are no way to prevent them. We don't know why they happen, no? And the second thing we do as a GP is to follow the guidelines of the screening programs. Unfortunately, we have no screening for everything validated. No, a screening has to be validated to be useful, no? Because if we screen like crazy, we can have many false positives, no? That creates alarm, creates extra test, can be dangerous. So we need to choose the right screen at the right time in life, no? And there are many guidelines, no? For breast, do your mammogram between you are 40 and 75, unless you come to me and you tell me this is why it's important, the view of the family doctor, no? My mother had a breast cancer, my sister, so we are in a different group. For cervical cancer, from 21 until you are 65, do your pap smears. Of course, there are circumstances you have to continue after 65, no? For lung cancer, Dr. Hospital and Dr. Kunal knows perfectly, has an amazing CT scan that can do the screening program in smokers over 50 years old with a low dose of radiation to try to find this terrible tumor in early stages, no? But again, remember, you don't want a lung cancer, don't smoke, no? For colon cancer, we do a colonoscopy between 45 and 75, but when the general surgeon tells you, okay, you don't need anymore, no? And follow what he tells you after every colonoscopy. So my job is to tell the people what to do. Their job is to do it and to give good advice, no? About what they find. But this holistic view of the patient is the difference between them and me, no? If you come to me as a patient, I'm interested in your family, in your lifestyle, in many things, no? Mm-hmm. That they are very specialized, and normally when Dr. Felix see a woman, he's seeing almost a cancer, no? To treat it. I am the one who has to catch that cancer in a way that he can do, and Dr. Abasti, they can do a wonderful treatment and the patient saves the life, no? When we don't do the right things from the beginning, we don't get the right results.
That's correct, yes.
So this is more or less what we can do as a GP, no, for cancer prevention and screening.
So I have a question because genetically, I know we said there's no way, even though if you have the best lifestyle, you can eat the best foods, sometimes cancer could just happen to you, right? Yeah. But also, there's some of us, as I have found out genetically in my family, that cancer is carried, colon cancer. And it's very, very, very close in my family. So for me, regular screening, I think you said, was 45.
Yes, but not for you, that you have a family history, yes. No? So probably you will need to start earlier, probably surgery for sure, and you will need probably to do it more.
More often,
So
yeah.
probably the general surgeon doing the colonoscopy will tell you, okay, everything is fine, but because your family has this history, we are going to repeat it next year or in 2 years instead of 5. No?
And I want to say that's the preventative measure. So in knowing that already, that I can kind of save it in a sense.
Screening. That is the
Yeah.
way that if you have a cancer, he cannot kill you. It's not the way to avoid you have a cancer.
Early detection.
Early
Early
detection.
detection, yeah.
To
colon
prevent
cancer.
it,
Colon cancer is one in which screening and prevention are very closely linked. That is, that when the polyp is removed, the cancer is prevented also, not just found.
Yes, it's true. Or you remove a polyp that has the capacity to become malignant, you are preventing the cancer.
Right, okay.
But you eat less red meat, you are also preventing the colon cancer. No?
Right, yes.
So,
And you're the doctor that Dr. Avasti, right? You are the one that has more specialized knowledge with food and cancers and how they're linked.
Yes.
Okay. Hopefully we're going to get some more information about you or about that coming up. But Dr. Martinez, I just want to ask as well. So when the family, how do the family physicians provide support and guidance to families when a cancer diagnosis is made?
Okay. It's the different stages in life, no? Prevention, screening, having cancer, being under the treatment of cancer, and we give support in everything that can happen surrounding that episode, no? Anxiety, depression, whatever is needed, because remember, it's not only the patient with cancer, it's the people that loves that patient around who is suffering the cancer, no? In a different way, but they are suffering it. So we try to give support to the whole family, no? Through, I think in the island we are very lucky, no? Because we have very good specialists, and when everything fails, we have Jasmine that does an amazing job with people at the end of life, no?
They do, yes.
So we have everything from the beginning: prevention, screening, diagnosis, treatment. We cannot ask for more in a place like Cayman, no? That is a small island in the middle of the Caribbean.
Right. And Dr. Felix, I guess we're coming at the end of the Breast Cancer Awareness Month right now for October.
Yes.
And so breast cancer is, I don't want to say common, because I don't like to say that any cancer is common in Cayman, but you know, there's quite a large number of residents in Cayman who've had breast cancer, right?
It is very common.
Okay, so it is common.
Yeah, 1 in
I didn't
8.
want to use that word.
Yeah, but 1 in 8. No, you have to be, you have to tell it as it is, because part of the awareness is coming to grips with the reality, right? And 1 in 8, 1 in 8, women will develop breast cancer at some point in their life, So, it is a major issue.
I guess for you, what are the surgical cancer treatment options that you specialize in?
Yeah, well, I'm a general surgeon, so I deal with all cancers that, other than, say, breast cancer, other than brain cancer. But I specialize mostly in breast cancer. I'm a breast surgical oncologist. So that's my main focus, is the treatment of breast cancer. Yeah.
Okay. Are there any advancements in surgical techniques that make cancer treatment less invasive and have a shorter recovery time? Yeah.
So if there's a history of the treatment of breast cancer in the past, it was very radical. You would basically remove the breast with part of the chest wall. It was very gruesome surgery, and it's very, very disfiguring. We've moved, throughout time now with improvements in technology and in surgical techniques, that yes, we can with early detection. So that's where everything is tied in. So the GPs and family doctors will help with diagnosing the cancers early, getting the screening. And so if you can detect the cancer early where it's not palpable or very small on early stages, then we can do what's called breast conserving surgery, where we would remove just the cancer and save the breast. And sometimes you may need to use what's called oncoplastic techniques, where you're using plastic surgery blended in with oncology surgery to get a good cosmetic outcome, save the breast, and maintain the woman's body image. And some of the technologies that we use for that.
Wait, before you go into that a little further, is that different from, for example, if I was going through this and we had a lump that I needed to remove, but I wanted at that point, knowing that, okay, my breasts are going to be a little bit different, and I wanted a cosmetic surgery in that sense, I wanted to get breast enhancements. Is that different from how you were describing it just now?
It's different, but connected and tied in.
Okay.
So there's oncoplastics, which deals with cancer, but maintaining the good cosmetic outcomes. And then there's cosmetic surgery, which is not related to any cancer. And then there's cosmetic surgery that's related to a person that has breast cancer. So, for example, if I'm going to do a procedure on the right breast, which has cancer in it, I may also have to do a procedure on the left breast, which has no cancer, to get symmetry.
Right.
To kind of match the breast and so forth. We say a woman's breasts are not twins.
They are not.
They're sisters, sometimes cousins, right? So they're not exactly alike, but you want them to look as symmetrical as possible. So sometimes we do a cosmetic procedure on the opposite breast to get some symmetry. And then you have some women who even, if they have a genetic mutation, you recommend removing the breast as prevention. And then we can do reconstruction at that time.
Okay.
And then
is there a risk in doing that? The reconstruction after, like because my worry would be, okay, if I had a genetic mutation, it was recommended that, to remove the breast, and then I decide, I do want breasts. It makes me feel more of a woman, right?
Right.
And I decide, okay, I'm going to get breast enhancements, or, to me, that's the cosmetic part. Like, I want it for myself. Is there that risk that you still have to be checked for cancer, and then what kind of happens?
Right. Not if you remove the breast. You can still do screen. You still do some checks, but like with examination, just to make sure that, because even when you remove the breast, you can't remove the entire breast. You remove 98% of all the breast tissue. There's still a few cells left behind, a few amount of tissue, and there's a small chance that the remaining 2% of breast tissue, something can develop in that. So you still do screening, but you can't do imaging because there's no more breast. So you do exams. And the GP comes into that too, along with the oncologist and myself. As a team effort in following up that patient and doing clinical exams annually or so forth, just to make sure there's no recurrence. But there are risks with any procedure, like in terms of complications and so forth.
Right.
So we don't usually offer like the mastectomies prophylactically unless there's a genetic mutation.
Okay.
However, there's some women, like if they're diagnosed with a breast cancer in one breast, they say, let's take both of them. They've been through this, they don't want to do it again. They don't want the chance of breast cancer coming in the other breast, and the anxiety and of doing all of the tests and so forth, the screening after that. They want both breasts removed, and it's not medically indicated because there's no genetic mutation, but we still would consider it and offer it to them just because that's their request.
I feel like I've always wanted to ask these questions, so I'm definitely asking them.
You can ask us as much as you
for this. Now, let's say I'm get regular screening. You do my self breast exams, and then I decide one day, okay, I'm going to get breast surgery. I want enhanced breasts. This is a bigger size I want, for example. Does that make screening a lot harder?
Slightly. I could Dr. Can speak to that, where it's a little bit harder. The imaging, you have to change imaging somewhat.
Okay.
But it still can be done, and it can be done with reasonable confidence.
Dr. Goyal, can you speak on that?
Yeah, I think you've touched on a very sensitive topic. I think we as physicians in medical community want to keep you healthy, not just in body, but also in mind. So I think it's critical for all of us to understand that patients might want to enhance their quality of life by various things. And for some, cosmetic surgery is very important.
Yes.
And I think we have to respect it and we have to accept it. And we should not tell them that, okay, if you're going to get this, your screening is not going to be possible. So I think that's where we come in, that we want to then ensure that you still are able to do your screening, we are able to do it safely. We have to alter what we do at our end. But yes, screening is still performed for patients who've had implants, for example. Mammogram may not be the first option in some. We may choose to do ultrasound, for example. But, all my colleagues have alluded on screening as a way to detect early cancer. And I think screening only works if people show up for it.
Yes.
And nobody's going to show up for a test if it's not comfortable, if it's not cost effective, and if it's not safe. And a lot of screening happens with imaging, whether it is breast screening, whether it is colon screening, lung cancer screening. A lot of cancer screenings happen with radiology. And I would say there has been a constant struggle to make everything more safer, more effective, and more comfortable. And I'm a newbie to the Cayman Islands. I've been here 10 months. And I'm very proud to say that in Doctors Hospital where I work, all the equipment we have is state-of-the-art. The mammograms we do, we don't have to compress the breasts that much at all. So patients find it very comfortable, or as comfortable as they can in any part of the world. So the short answer is, the goal is to have it safe, effective, and comfortable. And nothing patients have undergone as part of their lifestyle choice, whether it's cosmetic surgery or anything else, should hinder or stop them from being a candidate for having good screening. And we aim to do that.
Okay, excellent. Thank you for answering that. So those are definitely questions that I had in my mind. I'm curious about, if women are going to go through that, and if they have cancer and get their breasts removed, what are their options, and will it be harder for them again in the future to be screened, right? So, Dr. Felix, I think I cut you off in an earlier question.
Yeah,
so my apologies there, but it was in regards to the advancements in surgical techniques that make cancer treatment less invasive, and if there's a shorter recovery time.
Yeah, so definitely. So we are seeing much shorter recovery times, and now the majority of the surgeries for the breast are same day operations. You come in, you have the operation, and you're able to go home without an admission. Even in the past with mastectomies and that we keep for a week in the hospital are going home the same day now. We only really keep patients if they've had reconstruction. And even if they've had implant reconstruction, they can go home the same day. After having a major surgery with implants, they can go home. It's only if they have the flaps where they use their tissue from the abdomen or from the back and to reconstruct the breast, we keep those patients in the hospital. So the recovery time is relatively quick now and pain free. We have a lot of ways of making sure that the pain is well controlled, and we refer it early to the physiotherapist. We actually do what's called prehabilitation instead of rehabilitation. We do prehabilitation.
I haven't heard this term before.
Right, where we would send patients to the physiotherapist preoperatively, before the operation, in preparation for recovery. So they start exercises from then, and they get taught about what they need to do before the operation. Then they have the operation, and then of course with the nursing and everybody involved, we help with their recovery, and then they go back again to the physiotherapist postoperatively for further recovery. So it's a team effort, but with technologies, it's become better in terms of recovery and the type of surgery. So, for example, we've purchased a new technology from Canada that's now on island at a doctor's hospital, which is called Molly, which basically
that's a questionable
name.
Yes.
I did discuss that with them when they were, but I think they came up with it before the other one became popular. But essentially, it's a localization device, a magnetic device that localizes non-palpable early cancers. So when you have more and more screening, you start to detect cancers earlier. And then if you have a poor screening program, a lot of the cancers will present late when a woman feels a lump in her breast, or and then in those cases sometimes it can be a later stage of cancer. But when you do more and more screening, and the screening program gets bigger, you start to detect many more cancers earlier, and most of them are not palpable. And the only way to remove that cancer is to localize it with some device. because you can't see it, feel it, or anything. All right. That's a new device on island that will be help with doing the surgeries and cancers that are not palpable and very early stage 1, and it's will be the first one in the Caribbean.
Oh wow!
First time in the Caribbean.
That's very impressive.
Yeah.
Okay,
excellent. So it'll be in Cayman. In Cayman we always strive to be groundbreaking and innovative, and we'll be using this, from this week onward, this device, and it's will be the first time in the Caribbean.
Oh, so it's just coming.
It's just coming fresh, like I could say in Canada, FOB, right? Like fresh off the boat.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah.
That's
so
excellent.
That device is fresh off the boat. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. What role would you say that you play in helping families understand the prognosis and potential outcomes of cancer surgery?
Yeah. All right. So again, like I said, it's a team effort. So from with the GPs, the oncologists, and the surgeons, we all play a role, right, in terms of the holistic care with the patient, and the family is very important there. I myself, I've been on the side of that where my mother had breast cancer, so I understand from that perspective of being a family member and how to cope with that. So I counsel the patients, I counsel the families. I always have them involved in the discussion. Also, I brought these because this is just something that I normally give to all the patients. These are some books that I loan to the patients. So this is written by a doctor who actually had cancer, and then these are other ones that we. So these are good books to give to the patients and to the family. So they, I have a few copies, so I loan it to them, and then they give it back. Like they got a little library card, and they sign it.
They have to return too.
Yes. Sign it out. And then there are other organizations. So there's a breast360.org.
Okay.
Which is can keep that, and that's a it's an online organization that has plenty of resources for the patients and for the families. And there's also the Breast Cancer Foundation here in Cayman, which is very, very, very good and very helpful. They do a lot of work with the patients and the families, and we work very closely with them and collaborate with them. And also the Cayman Islands Cancer Society.
Yeah.
Again, also does a lot of work, and they're essential services here that
help support.
That help support.
Yeah, not only the cancer patients but the families and friends, and knowing how to support. That's a really hard thing to grasp. I mean, it's not an easy road to go down. So the more support we can get, and Cayman has that kind of community where when we know somebody's in trouble, when we know somebody needs help, we do have that ability to reach out and point somebody in the right direction and support them. We have a lot of support groups here. We have to go to our first commercial break, and then when we return, we're going to be discussing cancer care and the family.
You know, as a little girl, I dreamt of traveling to faraway places and foreign lands. I tell you what though, no more dreaming. I'm going flying with Cayman Airways. How blessed are we in the Cayman Islands to have a very own national airline? Girl, you can fly to so many international destinations without the hassle of connecting flights. On top of Jamaica, Cuba, and Honduras, you got non-stop flights from Cayman to New York, Miami, Tampa, and even Denver, Los Angeles, Panama, and child, they now have Barbados. Going to be a little cafe con leche and Hollywood Squares for this old gal.
Make your travel dreams come true with Cayman Airways, offering non-stop flights for non-stop adventures in Panama, LA, and many more places in between. For details and to book, call 949-2311, contact a travel agent, or visit CaymanAirways.com.
Find your dream car with a Cayman National Vehicle Loan. Enjoy 100% financing, up to 8-year repayment, and a 7% fixed interest rate for the first 5 years. For eco-friendly cars, we'll waive your commitment fee. This only applies to new vehicles until December 31st, 2023. Call 949-8300 or email lending@caymannational.com today.
Why replace when you can respray?
At Granite Express Cayman, we can completely transform your old kitchen cabinets with a fresh kitchen respray for just a fraction of the cost of buying new ones. Big news! We are offering kitchen respray at rebuilt cabinet doors and drawers starting at $3,995 CI dollars. We can make your dream kitchen come true and at a price to suit all budgets. Call 922-0424 for a free estimate, friendly service, fast installation. Visit graniteexpresscayman.com.
At Doctors Hospital, we know life happens, and usually when you least expect it. So when unexpected medical issues arise, you need quality care close to home. Located in the heart of Georgetown, our accomplished team of physicians and medical staff treat minor urgent conditions such as migraines, chest and abdominal pain, shortness of breath, burns, broken bones, open wounds, and more. 24 hours, 7 days a week with no appointment necessary. Peace of mind is important when life happens. At Doctors Hospital, we're always here just for you. Need to speak to someone? Call 949-6066.
Tune in Monday through Friday at 7 a.m. and 10 p.m. for the Daily Sports Report, covering local, regional, and international sports. Proudly brought to you by Dr. Wayne Porter, offering a full-service dermatology and dermatological surgery practice. Call 946-9020 to book your appointment today.
Did you know that in an event of a hurricane, water designated for the purposes of drinking, cooking, and bathing must be disinfected before use? Water may be disinfected by boiling or through the use of chlorine bleach. To disinfect through boiling, simply leave the water on the fire 1 minute after it begins to boil. To disinfect with bleach, add 3 ounces of chlorine bleach to every 1,000 gallons of water. If you're not able to smell the bleach in the water after 30 minutes, then add half of the amount of bleach that was added during the initial application. Recheck the water after 15 minutes to ensure there is residual bleach smell. A residual bleach smell is an indicator that the water has been properly disinfected. For more hurricane food safety tips, visit the DEH website, www.gov.ky/DEH.
Listen to the general public.
Your thoughts are just a telephone call away. 1-800-534-8255.
What the public is saying.
Let your voice be heard. And now,
Radio Cayman's Talk Today.
Good afternoon and welcome back to Radio Cayman's Talk Today program. I'm Kathy Miller, filling in for Sterling Dwayne Ebanks. And on this segment of Talk Today, we are talking about cancer care and the family. I have in studio with me Dr. Francisco Martinez from Integra Healthcare. He is a family physician, a GP. And we also have Dr. Kunal Goyal from Doctors Hospital, interventional radiologist. We have Dr. Sanjay Avasthi from Doctors Hospital. He's an oncologist. And I was kind of teasing Dr. Sanjay Avasthi a little earlier because I say he's our West Bayer in here because the way his name is spelt is A-W, but you say A-V. So I was like, this is our West Bayer in the house today. And we have Dr. Omar Felix, general surgeon and breast surgical oncologist. And Dr. Felix was one that I was just having the last discussion with when we were talking a lot about breast cancer there. And he answered a lot of questions that I personally had in regards to that. So before I continue the discussion, I want to remind our callers that you can call us. I don't think I've said it yet in the show today. So you can give us a call or you can WhatsApp your questions if you have any questions for the doctors. They are here to answer them for you this afternoon. You can give us a call at 949-8037 or 949-6990. You can WhatsApp call or WhatsApp message us at 925-3261. So we are taking calls. This is your chance to talk to a couple doctors and get their expertise on cancer care and how you as a family member possibly helping to support somebody going through cancer, what you can learn from them as well. So give us a call and share your questions, because if you got a question, I'm sure a lot of people out there have it as well. Now, Dr. Avasthi, can you kindly explain the role of an oncologist in a patient's cancer care journey and how they collaborate with other medical professionals?
So the oncologist has several roles. The patient often presents to the primary care physician, general practitioner, with some problem or sometimes no problem, and the general practitioner finds that there's something to get worried about And often that results in a biopsy or another test. You go to Dr. Goyal and he can do biopsies using needles and CAT scans. And usually the patient returns to the general practitioner and they're told that you have cancer. You go see a surgeon and a medical oncologist. And depends on the cancer, they first see the surgeon, but eventually they come to the medical oncologist. The role of the medical oncologist really is to be the source of information regarding cancer and in the long run to help with the survival of cancer patients. In the short run, it is to treat cancer patients with being a medical oncologist with medications. So these are oral medications, injection medications, intravenous medications, and our role is really as a coordinator of care. That is, that very often, even before a patient sees a surgeon, that a biopsy is done, and they come to the medical oncologist, and we have to arrange things such as we need a different biopsy or another biopsy. The results are not conclusive. This is what the pathology report says. This is what it means. This is why you have to have something else done, or that the cancer has spread potentially beyond where it started, and we have to do imaging scans such as CAT scans or MRIs or nowadays PET scans, which are quite specific for the presence of cancer, and other types of studies, sometimes blood tests and so forth, that are designed to assess how much cancer there is. But medical oncologists are actually trained first in internal medicine. So as an internist, we actually go through the entire list of their medications, their intolerances to medications, their histories of conditions such as heart disease or liver disease, brain and other diseases. And as a result, we come to a comprehensive plan of what should be done next. And we make arrangements through our nurse and ourselves, and speaking to the other physicians, having the patient scheduled for different procedures. And then when all material is back and the patient has, for example, seen the surgeon now, they've been to the interventional radiologist for a biopsy, they've gone back and discussed with their general practitioner what they think about what should be done. They've seen their family. They often bring their family in. That there's a sort of a summative visit in which a opinion is given regarding this is what you need to do. Usually at that time is when we talk about what the patient can expect in terms of their survival, chances of cure, side effects of treatment, what they can expect after treatment is done, and the things that are going to be done afterwards. So we are we end up being their cancer doctor for often 5 years, which is sort of an arbitrary time at which we say you're cured. But really, I mean, I've been doing oncology since 1989, and I've seen probably in excess of 30,000 patients in my life at different medical schools where I was faculty. And between the different types of patients that I've seen, we get a sense for what a patient's disease may be, how their behavior for their disease is going to be. And we take responsibility at that point to say that it's not just a matter of curing your cancer, it's about making you live as long as possible with as few symptoms of the cancer as possible. We try to make them understand that side effects of treatments. People dread things like chemotherapy, but we explain that, yes, you may have nausea, but your cancer also causes nausea. Yes, you may have pain, but cancer symptom is pain. And that is that symptoms of treatment are often very closely resembling the symptoms of the cancer itself, except that if the cancer weren't treated, those symptoms would only get worse. Whereas if the cancer is treated, you can expect those to go away eventually.
So, in describing that, there's a whole lot of I want to say responsibility or tasks that you have to do as an oncologist. So it's almost like the engine of a vehicle in that sense.
Yeah, you have to function as their internal medicine doctor who can give chemotherapy drugs. Chemotherapy drugs are very strong medications that have to be given in a very precise way at the precise dose. So you have to know. Nowadays, when I trained, there were maybe 15 different cancer medicines. There are over 300 now. And then our list keeps increasing by a dozen each year. And we can treat pretty much all of the types of cancers that I could not treat when I was in a fellowship. Everything from thyroid cancer to certain stomach cancers of the stomach to colon. All of them have specific treatments now that are based on genetically guided therapeutic routes. We can check the cancer for genetic mutations. We can check patients for genetic mutations.
Okay.
And now it's becoming such that we can use immunotherapies, which don't actually kill cancer, but increase the patient's immune system to kill cancer. And those are effective in almost all cancers now, so they've revolutionized cancer treatment. So we've gone from being able to choose from 14 medications to now we have to choose from over 300. So it's a difficult task, but it's one that medical oncologists, there are very few that don't like or love what they do.
Okay.
Okay.
I would have to assume you're very invested in it. Over 30,000 people you've seen, and since 1989, I think you said you were in this.
Yeah, I mean, I finished medical school in 1986, and fellowship. After fellowship, I've been in different medical schools, so I've been involved in different ways in teaching students, residents, fellows, faculty, how to do it. And it's been, Cayman has been an eye-opening experience. The people here are just genuine, and they often are not aware of the things that they may have available to them on the island. They're not aware of the reasons why they got cancer. There are often misconceptions that not just here but in the Caribbean regarding the effects of surgery on a cancer, the consequences of chemotherapy, radiation, and so it's been a wonderful experience for the last 2 years for me.
Okay, I think we have a caller on hold right now. So, gentlemen, if I could ask you all to put your headphones on, and then we're going to take our, I don't know if we have two callers or one, but at least we'll take our first caller right now. Good afternoon, caller, and welcome to Talk Today.
Good afternoon, Ms. Miller and your panel.
Good afternoon. How are you doing?
Not bad. Fantastic. Grateful. I'd like to ask a medical question I've been sort of studying. I like medicine. It's very important to me. It's always something. It's something that I've always been interested in studying, the effects and so forth. I've been made to understand also that there are certain types of medicine that has alcohol in it. And there's a question. What I'm leading to is something that I've also learned. I think it's about wine or some types of beverages. But the question is alcohol, certain types of alcoholic beverages in moderation, is it possible for it to fight against cancer? And I'll try to listen to your answers.
Yes. Recently, the last week, I was reading a paper because this has been a controversy, and there are many research that shows people who never drink versus people who drinks in excess versus people who drinks moderately, who lives longer. And the people that lives longer is the people drinking with moderation. So more than the people who are not drinking. It's a paradox, no? Because alcohol is a toxic. How can we explain this? And there were, in this paper, there were many different explanations, no? Sometimes the alcohol is wine that can have some antioxidants. Of course, a rum or a gin has no antioxidants, has nothing, it's only alcohol. But also there was another two explanations that has nothing to do with the alcohol itself. One is people who doesn't drink at all can be because they have another medical condition that doesn't allow them to drink. So they are not as healthy as the normal population that we are comparing with. And the second explanation they were giving is that drinking normally is a social event, no? Unless you are an alcoholic. So we know that people that socialize, spend time with friends, chatting, are healthier, no? Because happiness, talking to other people, meeting with other people brings you nice experience and brings you health. And maybe the people not drinking is people that is very isolated at home. So still we don't know if it is the alcohol. Of course, we know that the people that lives less is the people who drinks in excess. They die younger than the people who never drink or who drinks with moderation. The big discussion is the moderation versus not drinking. Many studies tells you that a glass of red wine daily can live you longer, not because of the cancer, okay? Alcohol is a risk factor for cancer, but maybe because of the heart, cardiovascular disease. Through a glass of red wine daily, you can have an increase in the HDL, that is the good cholesterol, and you can have a better cholesterol profile. So you prevent dying not of cancer, you prevent dying of the main reason to die in the first world, that is cardiovascular disease. So I don't have a real answer to the question. The only thing I can tell you is that for cancer, alcohol is a risk factor.
So I'll address two other parts of your question. So in the distant past, yes, many medications were actually put into alcohol because that's the only way you could dissolve them. Tinctures and so forth back in the 1800s. But at this time, there are rare medications that are actually contain the type of alcohol that we drink. Of course, there are other types of alcohol. It's a general type of chemical which can be present in many medications. The other thing is that alcohol actually turns on certain types of enzymes in the liver, which help you metabolize a variety of different toxins. So that small exposures, no one exactly knows how much, can actually protect you by turning on your stress defenses. There's been a lot of controversy as to how much alcohol you can drink. Previously, there were studies that said that you could have 2 drinks a day. Now we're down to 1, and of course there are more recent studies that much less than that is good. Women can certainly tolerate less alcohol, roughly half, in terms of having bad outcomes in health if they drink more.
All right, thank you so much. Caller, we hope we answered your question there. Did we have another call on hold? I wasn't sure. Okay, that was it for our calls so far. Again, if you do have some questions that you want to ask our panel, you can give us a call at 949-8037, 949-6990, or you can WhatsApp your questions or give us a WhatsApp call at 925-3261. Now, Dr. Avasthi, I want to go back to some of the, when you were just speaking there a little earlier before our call. So you really were explaining the role of an oncologist in a patient's cancer care journey. How do you approach discussing a cancer diagnosis and treatment options with patients and their families?
The first part of the approach is to understand the patient and understand their understanding of what you can tell them. There are people that come in that have graduate degrees, and then there are others that have not finished elementary school. There are those who have finished only elementary school that have a very high level of social intelligence, that they understand a lot more than you think they might just by their education. There are people that come in alone, and it's obvious that no one cares to bothers to come with them. And then there are others that have 14 family members in the room at the same time. The key to it, I think, is number one, truth. You have to tell them that this is what it means, but this is what your pathology report means. And the second part is hope, and that is that only God can know how long you're going to live. And the answer, if someone answers you that yes, you will live 6 months or a year or something, is at best a guess and at most very misleading and harmful. The numbers that often, when someone says you have a year to live, when a doctor says that, what they actually mean is that if I tell you that you're going to live for 1 year, then I'll be wrong half the time. And if I tell you that then your likelihood of living 2 years is roughly half of that, which would whatever it would be at 1 year. So you can imagine that that prognostication in that process of just telling the person their condition is not particularly helpful. But what you can tell them is this is where your cancer is. This is where it started. This is how it's going to behave if no treatment is done. And these are your options of treatment. And often most of the time you have to stop there and just sit. And the questions come from them. And you have to remember at the end that they will remember nothing about what you told them after once they hear the word cancer, it goes in, whatever I say goes into 1 year and out the other, so that you have to be ready to say it again and again and patiently as many times as is necessary.
And that took, years of experience for you to realize, okay, this is really what I have to go through.
Well, it is the practice of medicine, so we never get it right. We just get a little bit better at doing something.
I'm glad that you mentioned the doctors can be wrong half the time when they say, hey, you might have a year to live, you might have 2 years to live.
That's the meaning of a median survival. That is that a median survival, our textbooks say median survival is 6 months. What that means is that they have a 50-50 chance of living that long. Another way of saying the same thing is if I told the patient that you're going to live 6 months, I'll be wrong half the time.
Right, okay.
Okay, and that is a concept I've found the patient understands much better.
Okay. I would imagine that sends some sort of a panic as well, somewhat in the patient if it was a short span of life. That
having lived through a time where we didn't have any types of treatment, and now I've been here in Cayman for about 2 years now, and I can't remember a single patient who I told that you have only 6 months to live, or where their median survival was 6 months. Okay, because we have treatments for almost everything. The surgeons have gotten so good at removing tumors. Radiologists can diagnose metastatic cancer very early, and they can be sure that it's not there. So I can say with confidence that it's not there. The general practitioners are amazing in the sense that when they support the patient, they tell them, look, that I think this has gone beyond what can be treated. I think you should back off. Or that, why are you not wanting to get treated for this? This is a curable thing.
Mm-hmm.
So medicine has changed a lot, and it will change even more.
Yes.
Within the next probably 3 to 4 years, we'll have diagnoses of cancer that can be made quite reliably on blood work.
Okay. All right. We have to go to a commercial break. I know I missed my earlier one, so we got to go to the commercial break, and then we have our 2 p.m. news headlines.
They say variety is the spice of life. And that's why at Subway, we are introducing the new Boneless Hot Sub.
Say what?
The premium sub brings new ingredients like spicy breaded boneless chicken, French's crispy fried onions, and buffalo wing sauce, bringing a zesty and flavorful experience with every bite. Add some of your favorite veggies, cheese, and ranch sauce of your choice of freshly baked bread for the ultimate boneless hot sub. For a little spice in your life, try the new boneless hot sub from Subway.
So good and tasty.
And make it a meal with a drink and chips or cookies. Subway. Eat fresh.
You know, as a little girl, I dreamt of traveling to faraway places and foreign lands. I tell you what though, no more dreaming. I'm going flying with Cayman Airways. How blessed are we in the Cayman Islands to have a very own national airline? Girl, you can fly to so many international destinations without the hassle of connecting flights. On top of Jamaica, Cuba, and Honduras, you got non-stop flights from Cayman to New York, Miami, Tampa, and even Denver, Los Angeles, Panama, and child, they now have Barbados. Going to be a little cafe con leche and Hollywood Squares for this old gal.
Make your travel dreams come true with Cayman Airways, offering non-stop flights for non-stop adventures in Panama, LA, and many more places in between. For details and to book, call 949-2311, contact a travel agent, or visit CaymanAirways.com.
To facilitate pipeline improvement works in the area, Water Authority Cayman wishes to advise motorists and other road users that Homestead Crescent from Pedro Castle Road east as far as, but not including, Domino's Pizza will be closed to vehicular traffic from Tuesday 31st October to Friday 3rd November from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. each day. During this time, local access only to residences in the area will be available, and flagmen will be on hand to direct local access traffic. Traffic signs will be posted in the general vicinity, and all motorists are asked to drive with caution to ensure their own safety as well as that of the Water Authority staff. The Water Authority appreciates the patience and understanding of the motoring public and apologizes for any inconvenience this may cause.
Introducing Digicel's all-new prepaid plans, packed with more any-use data than ever before. Entertainment data for the apps you love, like Netflix, Spotify, YouTube, and TikTok. Plus, endless social data for Snapchat, WhatsApp, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. So you're always in the know. Stay connected. Stay entertained with Digicel's new prepaid plans. Activate in the My Digicel app today. Digicel. Better connected.
For the record. For information that matters to you, the people. Hear from the government, the opposition, independents, and other experts on issues and solutions that affect you. For the record. Every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, tune into 89.9 and 93.9 FM for Cayman's Straight Talk Morning Show. For the record.
I invite you to join me for the record. You are invited to be a part of this interesting and informative show. Embrace the opportunity to dialogue with your legislators, policymakers, and those charged with policy implementation.
For the record.
Brought to you by Coca-Cola. Available across the Cayman Islands from Tortuga Distributors.
Accept no substitutes. Taste the feeling with Coca-Cola.
You are listening to Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman. Your voice, your choice. Local, regional, international. This is Headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
Today's biggest news.
Police are searching for the man who robbed a food truck in Red Bay Friday evening. 911 Communications got the call around 9:45 p.m., dispatching police to the scene. It was reported that a man dressed in dark clothing with his face covered approached the truck with a machete and demanded cash. He then took off on foot, having stolen a quantity of cash. Police responded to the location and searches were carried out in the nearby vicinity of the incident. However, no one was found. Police are asking anyone with information to call the Georgetown Police Station. The number is 949-4222. In international headlines, Israeli troops and armor pushed deeper into northern and central Gaza today as the UN and medical staff warned that airstrikes are hitting closer to hospitals where tens of thousands of Palestinians have sought shelter, alongside thousands of wounded. Video obtained by the Associated Press showed an Israeli tanker and bulldozer in central Gaza blocking the territory's main north-south highway, which the Israeli military earlier told Palestinians to use to escape the expanding ground offensive. An explosion aboard the Trinity Spirit off the coast of Nigeria last year that killed 5 workers and left 2 others unaccounted for stands among the deadliest tragedies on an oil ship or platform in recent years. A review by the Associated Press of court documents, ship databases, and interviews with crew members revealed the 46-year-old ship was in a state of near total disrepair. Those are your headlines. I'm April Cummings from Radio Cayman's Newsroom.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman. Your voice, your choice. Local, regional, international. This is Headlines from Radio Cayman's Newsroom.
Today's biggest news.
Listen to the general public. Your thoughts are just a telephone call away. 1-800-534-8255.
What the public is saying.
Let your voice be heard. And now,
Radio Cayman's Talk Today.
Good afternoon and welcome back to Radio Cayman's Talk Today. I'm Kathy Miller, filling in for Sterling Dwayne Ebanks, and we are talking about cancer care and the family with some guests from Doctors Hospital and Dr. Francisco Martinez from Integra Healthcare. We have Dr. Kunal Goyal from Doctors Hospital, Dr. Sanjay Avashti, and Dr. Omar Felix, also from Doctors Hospital. I'm going to turn to you now, Dr. Goyal. You spoke a little bit about the radiology part, right? But we're going to get a little bit more in depth about that. So I'm going to ask, what is the role of radiology in cancer diagnosis and treatment planning? And how does it affect family members' involvement?
Thank you for your question. I think radiology and imaging, some people will call it the X-ray department, and now more often the CT and MR, is probably the backbone of every hospital, because pretty much everybody who goes into the hospital visits 2 places, the lab and the X-ray department.
I do all the time.
And imaging, we've so far talked about the prevention, the diagnosis, the screening, and then the treatment. And I think imaging department and radiology is associated with all of them. By means of prevention, we know that X-ray radiation causes cancer. So over the last 10 years, 15 years, we have, as radiologists, worked very hard to reduce the dose of X-rays we give to people when they come for their investigations. Whether it is CAT scans or X-rays, we try our best that we do the appropriate test. We don't do the unnecessary testing, and the testing is done safely. So we try to play our part in the prevention of cancers, which are induced by radiation. And then I would like to say that radiology department is associated with screening of pretty much all cancers. And once again, our job is to make sure that the screening is available to everybody. The access, the easy access, is very important for patients to be able to go and get their screening test done. So we ensure that the screening test is available after 5 o'clock. It's available on the weekend. Because if it becomes inconvenient for you, you're not going to go get it done. We need to make sure it is safe. And we also need to make sure it's effective. Once you ensure that, it becomes critical that this patient who gets the screening, they share their experience with their family members and the community. Because one bad experience can make the whole family or the community say, oh, Joe Bloggs had a bad experience, I'm not going to get my colonoscopy done.
This
or I'm
is
not
very true in Cayman.
And I'm not going to get my mammogram done. So it's very important that we make sure that every screening exam is done in the best way so that patients have a positive experience. We encourage patients to bring their family members so that they are present with them. Going to the hospital in general for anybody and everybody is not the most pleasant experience. Everybody dreads going to the hospital. It's okay to go to other places, shoppers and shopping and this and that, but nobody likes to come to the hospital. So we want to make it a more streamlined process. So once you've screened somebody and let's say unfortunately you found something which is abnormal or a cancer, then radiology becomes very important in diagnosing how widespread the cancer is. Whether it is localized to a particular part of the body, for example, breast, or whether it has spread to other parts of the body. So working collaboratively with the surgical team, the medical oncologist, we then decide and tailor make a scan which we can use for patient to detect whether the cancer is spread to other parts of body. And then the other important part of radiology, which we are now trying to do more and more at Doctors Hospital, is what I specialize in called interventional radiology, where we use fine needles, tiny needles, to get the tissue specimen from your parts of the body so that we can actually decide, yes, this is a cancer, that what we saw and thought was a cancer is actually a cancer. What kind of cancer it is. Dr. Avasthi just mentioned we now have 300 medications and more to tell exactly this is the genotype, this is the genetics of the cancer, this is the subtype of the cancer, so that he can give treatment which is very specific, tailor-made to that patient's cancer. And we do our best to tell the family members, this is what your loved one is going through, this is the scan we are going to do. We encourage that patients who have cancer, if they are interested, some patients don't want to know more, but some patients who want to see it, I do believe pictures, one picture is more than 1,000 words.
Yes.
Pictures speak for themselves. I encourage them to either come meet with a radiologist, go meet with their oncologist, go meet with their family physicians, because all of us are specialized enough that we can show them this is the lump we are talking about. And once they see it, it becomes better for them to accept it, not just for themselves, but their family members, that, okay, this is what my loved one, or this is what I'm dealing with. And then radiology plays a huge role in interventional radiology. Now we have developed techniques where we can treat cancers. We are talking about chemotherapy, which is the standard of treatment in almost all cancers. And we give the treatment some patients, if not all, get some side effects. Now there are ways where we can specifically target those treatments to that part of the body where the cancer is. So for example, if your cancer is in the liver, we can go with our special catheters and wires through a tiny 2 millimeter hole and give the chemotherapy directly into the cancer in your liver so that the side effects are less because the dose of the treatment required is less. It's not available for all cancers, but we work very closely with the medical oncologist to see which patients can benefit from that. So we are very happy that now we are able to offer those localized, targeted treatments for cancer. And then the other very important role is the follow-up. Once you've treated a cancer, you want to make sure that it is not come back and that it is not spreading 6 months down the line, 1 year down the line. And that's where the follow-up program comes in to tell the patients and their relatives that it's prudent that you come back in this stipulated time frame. And once again, we do those tests in radiology, whether it is MRI scan, CT scan, ultrasound scan, to see if there is recurrence of the cancer where it was originally found or if it is spread. I'm fascinated with the technology we have on the Cayman Islands, and I want to reiterate that. In Canada, where I have practiced, I would like to believe we have great equipment. My hospital served a population of 1 million people. We last year or 2 years ago bought a CT scan, which we thought was state-of-the-art. I'm very pleased to say on Cayman, our CT scanner is twice as good. So we can do things faster, we can do them better, and we can do them safer. So this kind of technology we have on the island, I think, is amazing for our population to get screened on, to get investigated on, to get followed up on. And I think we all should be proud of the investment various health organizations have done on this island.
I agree. Did you mention much earlier in the show that there was a new piece of machinery that did come in for the radiology department? I can't remember.
We acquired a new CT scan, I think, about 18 months ago.
Okay.
Which is amazing. There is no better CT scan than that in the whole world. So to say that we have the latest technology I'm very proud of that.
Okay.
We did get an MR scan last year, which once again is state of the art and allows us to do things without radiation. MR scan, as you know, is very, very safe. And so we have all kinds of imaging tools we need to support from prevention to diagnosis and to follow-up of all our cancer patients.
Okay. The aftercare, I think you touched on that a little bit, but for all of the doctors in here today, I think aftercare is such an important part. And I say this because I can share a story of somebody that I know that had skin cancer. They had the mole removed. And after that, it was nothing, not a word from their doctor, not anything. How are you feeling? Nothing later. It was, you got to come back and see us in a year for like a full body scan. And I understand, from that person, it was very cold and they felt very forgotten about. And I know, Dr. Avashti, you said that sometimes people just come in because maybe it seems like nobody cares for them, but often, especially in Cayman, people will come in alone because they don't have any other family, or people don't want to share what's going on and they just want to keep it to themselves, right? So when it comes to aftercare, how important is that in part of that cancer journey with your patients?
The first thing is that to be a doctor, you need to be warm, okay?
Yeah, I agree.
Because you are seeing people that is going through problems, health problems, mental problems, and as a family doctor, sometimes they come to talk to you because they need it, no? So empathy is super important in medicine, not in cancer only. Of course, you double the bed with the cancer. So I remember in the department I was in emergency back in Spain, I used to force of the residents to do a course that we had that was called How to Give Bad News in Medicine. Mm-hmm. Super important, the way you tell the people terrible news like this. But also it's very important the way you go through that journey with them, no? Giving support, understanding that cancer is not the only thing. We cannot forget about the rest of the body, no? You have breast cancer, but still you can have problems with the blood sugar, or even more because of the medications, with the blood pressure, and depression is something that we have to be aware of it. Not only in the cancer patient, that is very common, also in the family members, no? And you need to be there to give support all the time, no? Super important. And even when the journey is at the end, luckily with a recovery, to remove everything you had been doing, no? Mm-hmm. Or when it's not a recovery, is because there is no solution, you have to support even more, no? Because there is a question that is, we say in medicine, who cares for the carers?
Yes.
No, and you need to focus on the patient, but the support of the patient needs to be up. Because if that person falls, there is a catastrophe, no? Mm-hmm. So you need to ask the other family members. They don't come, they can coming with a patient with cancer, but you need to ask them, and how are you doing? No, they are not booking for you. They are just a companion. But you need to ask them, how are you doing? How is everything going? So I think the support is important in the whole journey, no, until the end. There are many ethical questions that comes around cancer. All of us here has to go through them. Does the patient needs to be the truth? I believe yes. Because sometimes the family tell, no, don't tell him. No, people need to know what can happen to take decisions, no?
Right, I agree, yeah.
In life. And there are questions at the end also, pain, sedation, so many things. So the journey of cancer is full of many ethical questions, many problems, and we need to be here to sort it out. No?
Right.
It's our mission.
Dr. Avasti, I feel like I can tell you want to touch on that answer.
Yeah, I agree with everything he's saying. For us, and specifically in oncology, the aftercare is now almost a subspecialty that is survivorship. Interestingly, I tell my patients that their survivorship began at the day that they were diagnosed because they survived long enough to be diagnosed. After they get treated, they have to be renourished. They have to be rehabilitated physically. They have to have treatments for many of the problems caused by treatments, which can range anywhere from loss of thyroid function to congestive heart failure to renal disease, and sometimes simple things like, for example, back pain. I know the patient doesn't have cancer at this point. All the scans are negative, but the pain is there. Mm-hmm. And you do a scan, you say, oh, there's a degenerative disc. In the past, we really couldn't do much more other than Motrin. But now, here in Cayman, we can send the patient. They can get injected with the type of cement, and it can fix the pain. You have patients who have frozen shoulders after breast surgery.
Oh, I just would get them out of nowhere
lymphedema.
Forever.
Yeah, I mean, the Breast
shoulder.
Cancer Foundation is a godsend because they provide resources for patients to get almost everything done, from lymphedema treatment. There are orthopedic doctors that can actually take the patient to the operating room and unfreeze the shoulder in the operating room, which is something would be impossible otherwise. Alignments with physiotherapy units that can help with everything from hearing loss to muscle loss and so forth. Those are very important part of the long-term follow-up.
Okay. I'm late on our next commercial break again. I know Paul was sitting there like, come on, Kathy, you got to take your break. So we're going to go to a quick commercial break, and then we will wrap up on this segment.
Discover your dream home with Cayman National's home loan. Get up to 95% financing, repayment up to 40 years, and just a 0.5% commitment fee. Your interest rate? Depending on your risk factors, it'll be fixed or variable. Plus, you get a pre-approved credit card. This is a limited time offer. Dial 949-8300 or email lending@caymannational.com today.
You know, as a little girl, I dreamt of traveling to faraway places and foreign lands. I tell you what though, no more dreaming. I'm going flying with Cayman Airways. How blessed are we in the Cayman Islands to have a very own national airline? Girl, you can fly to so many international destinations without the hassle of connecting flights. On top of Jamaica, Cuba, and Honduras, you got non-stop flights from Cayman to New York, Miami, Tampa, and even Denver, Los Angeles, Panama, and child, they now have Barbados. Going to be a little cafe con leche and Hollywood Squares for this old gal.
Make your travel dreams come true with Cayman Airways, offering non-stop flights for non-stop adventures in Panama, LA, and many more places in between. For details and to book, call 949-2311, contact a travel agent, or visit CaymanAirways.com.
It's party season, which means it's Pizza Boat season. Aren't you tired of the same boring pizza? It's time to party. All aboard the Pizza Boat. Birthday parties, holiday functions, office luncheons, game nights. Whatever your occasion, bring the fun with Pizza Boat, a Cayman twist to pizza. Bringing fusion ingredients from all over the globe to give you locally inspired fresh pizzas. All day, every day. What's more, now you can enjoy a boat-shaped pizza with toppings of your choice. It's Pizza Boat. Pizza Boat in Queens Court on West Bay Road. Open daily from 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. and Fridays until 3 a.m. Pickup or delivery 949-0000 or get it online at www.pizzaboat.ky. Pizza Boat. Experience the ultimate pizza voyage.
Freedom, Cayman Brack. Freedom, Little Cayman. Soft breezes, blue waters, no traffic. Unwind and rejuvenate your mind, body, and soul. Sister Island Staycations, a taste of freedom. Discover all that our sister islands have to offer.
The best foundation you can wear is glowing, healthy skin. The offices of dermatologist Dr. Wayne Porter specialize in enhancing your skin's well-being. Whether you're seeking advanced skin care, including any skin cancers, Botox, filler, cosmetic skin enhancements, or simply looking to reduce wrinkles, Dr. Porter offers a full-service dermatology and dermatological surgery practice. For more information, email drportercayman@gmail.com or call 946-9020. That is 946-9020.
RC Fusion.
Monday to Thursday.
10 a.m. to 12 p.m.
Fridays. Radio Cayman. Biggest variety in the morning. Biggest variety.
RC Fusion.
Following the 10 a.m. news headline. Biggest variety in the morning.
Listen to the general public.
Your thoughts are just a telephone call away. 1-800-534-8255.
What the public is saying.
Let your voice be heard. And now,
Radio Cayman's Talk Today.
All right, Dr. Avasthi, I do have another question for you in regards to, what you have to do as an oncologist here. But I know we talked about family support and all the rest, but when it comes to chemotherapy and radiation, can you explain what those common side effects would be and how a family should be prepared for that and offering support to the patient going through it?
The chemotherapy is toxic, but it's surprising that sometimes for many treatments, as much as half of the patients don't experience the side effects. But the side effects that are most common during chemotherapy are fatigue, loss of appetite, loss of weight. People associate nausea with chemotherapy, but generally, if it happens, it is transient, and the medications are so effective that it doesn't seem to be as much of a complaint for patients as it used to be. The effects that I worry about is if a patient develops a fever, because a fever during chemotherapy means that they need to call me. So that's why some people that are getting chemotherapy, they get my cell phone number and say, that whenever this happens, you call because you need antibiotics within a short period of time. And with some chemotherapies, people get mouth soreness. Pretty often the vision gets kind of blurry, but that recovers after treatment. They may get everything from infection to anemia, in which they may even need blood transfusions. And sometimes they get sick enough to be admitted overnight or a couple of days during the treatment. But in general, these, if let's say, for example, if I was to give chemotherapy every 3 weeks to someone, that I would expect a 3-day period roughly in which most of these side effects would occur, with the exception of the fatigue and the weakness that can happen throughout. And one of the things that we have to remember is that when I'm giving chemotherapy to a patient who has symptoms of cancer, they don't notice side effects because their pain goes away from their treatment. Okay, their swelling goes away because the cancer is shrinking. And they don't complain about the side effects because they come in and they say, I feel better. And I would say that is the vast majority of patients who actually have symptoms of their cancer. Yeah.
I know some people prefer, I'm going to say, alternative methods in treating cancer, or as a patient, they might not want to go through chemotherapy and radiation. They might opt to go a natural way. I'm not sure what that natural way would be exactly, but is there any instances where you would perhaps recommend against that?
Natural therapy has been tested many, many times, and interestingly, most of our cancer treatment drugs are actually derived from natural sources. The Vinca plant gave us vincristine. The adriamycin is from a bacteria, from a fungus, so that there are plenty of natural sources that have given us treatments. Unfortunately, there is really no evidence that for cancer, let's say, for example, for small cell lung cancer, that any natural treatment does anything. I can give you hundreds of examples of patients that I've seen that have said, I'm going to go to Mexico to get, ozone enemas and then come back a year later, much worse with untreatable cancer than before. So there are things that you can do that are natural that will aid in treatment in the way that you feel. But in general, those are good for prevention. But by the time you get cancer, it's too late. You need something that is proven to have benefit.
Okay. All right. Thank you. And for all of you, if you could answer, what are some key communication strategies for families to maintain open and effective dialogues with medical professionals regarding their loved ones' cancer care?
I think it's very important to go to your regular visits to the oncologist and to your GP. The GP can help to go through that journey, helping the whole family, giving you advice, and of course referring if there is a big side effect of the medication, referring the patient to the oncologist as soon as possible. They need to stick together. It's a journey, it's a matter of time. Every day, and Dr. Abasti, Dr. Felix knows, more patients with cancer lives longer, saves their lives. The treatment is still hard, surgery, chemotherapy, radiation. The stigma of the word cancer is terrible, so we try many times to use different terms, malignancy, tumor. In the newspaper, he died of a lung disease. So we need to fight the stigma in a place small like Cayman. We need a cancer registry so we can think what is happening on island. We need to give comfort to the families, to help them, because most of the times the journey will be successful. It's going through a very terrible time, but there is light in the tunnel, at the end.
Okay. Did anybody else want to?
Yeah, I would like to say that I echo what Dr. Martinez said. I think for those of us who follow football, I think the family physician is a quarterback. And I think people understand that. But I think the biggest thing everybody, including myself when I'm a patient, we need to get over this, this is a trivial problem. Why should I bother him or her as my GP? They must be busy with other patients. So we need to get over that. I think if you are suffering from anything or if you have a question, you should reach out for help. And also we should remove the stigma associated with our care. If I'm puking, if I'm nauseous, if I've got diarrhea, there is no stigma associated with it. You need to go and tell your GP, this is what I'm going through. So I think people should feel free. They should not associate any stigma or embarrassment, and go to their family doctor, because I think they are best suited to assess you, not just from your cancer perspective, but from the other medical conditions which you may have, which may be contributing to some of your symptoms. And then they can tell you, okay, we need to follow up. We need to make sure cancer isn't coming back. If you, as Dr. Avasthi said, for some things you directly call your oncologist. But as a patient, I think the first thing is, if you think you need help of whatever sort, you need to ask for it. That's what we are all here for, to help you through the journey of your life in healthcare. And I think a family doctor is your quarterback who can support you through the process. So nobody should feel they are left alone or there is no avenue of help. So that's what I would like to say, that, please feel confident that people are here to help. You need to speak up and ask.
Would anybody else like to add to that?
Communication is always dependent on access, so that you need to provide to the patient very specific guidelines as to, this is what you can do if this happens. You can call this number. You can call this person. When you call, you ask for such and such a person. And if none of it works, be the squeaky wheel, because you may get ignored once, but you're not going to get ignored again and again and again, no matter what doctor that you go to. And that doctors have nurses, and nurses actually run doctors, so that if you have any problem, you can always go to the doctor's nurse and say, do something, and they will get it done.
Okay.
Yeah, I just like to say that it's a team effort, involving all the different doctors, family practitioners, GPs, the surgeons, oncologists, radiologists, nurses, physiotherapists, and then the family, right? So all fighting with the patient. We're all, trying to get the patient through, through this journey. So it's a collaborative effort, with everyone, and which is why we're in the process of putting together a comprehensive breast cancer center at Doctors Hospital, which will operate on that premise of pulling all of the different physicians and nurses and physiotherapists and together and working together to help people with breast cancer, and basically using the current resources that are on island and pooling them together, and having a collaborative effort. So that's in the process.
All right. Yeah. I got to ask you now, for Dr. Goyal, you did reference football there, so I just need to know, who's your favorite football team?
My favorite football team is from Canada, the state where I come from. Saskatchewan Rough Riders.
Okay. So you're CFL then, okay. CFL. Mine is the New York Giants, and apparently we're still in med school, so I don't know what's going on.
I think my second favorite team is where Taylor Swift is dating these days, so
Kansas City Chiefs.
Yep. So I have to say that's my second closest.
Cowboys.
So you said, you're my enemy right now. If I only knew this at the beginning of the show.
Miami Dolphins.
Okay, I can understand that. Dr. Martinez, you have one?
In soccer.
Yeah.
So you're the real football. You'd be like,
yes, the real football.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm surprised you even said soccer right there. Okay.
Real Madrid.
So I guess Spain is your team.
Spain, Atletico Madrid, my team.
Okay, Madrid.
Oh, sorry, Real Madrid.
Real Madrid. All right.
Now we are enemies.
Well, thank you, gentlemen, so much for joining us today, and please get in touch with your doctors. Follow up on your cancer care if you need it, and remember, you can reach out if you have your questions. Do your preventative strategies, get your screening, start with your GP, and they will teach you and lead you where to go from there. Thank you for joining us this afternoon on Talk Today.
Thank you for having us.
All right, thank you for having me. All right. Good afternoon, everyone.
Talk Today is brought to you by Subway, open 24 hours in Countryside, Anderson Square in Georgetown, and Centennial Towers in West Bay. And by the Ministry of District Administration. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your sister islands. And Cayman Airways. Call them on 949-2311 to book your nonstop flights to Los Angeles and Panama. And now, Barbados. And Digicel, Cayman's bigger, better network.